Jamie, thank you. This is such an absolute pleasure to speak with you. So thank you for taking the time to do this. I really, really appreciate it. First things first, how's your day going overall?
Pretty good. I just got myself together to do this and to do some photo shoots. So it's going pretty well right now.
Is the photo shoot related to music?
It is. I'm doing the cover for Fireworks magazine and a couple of other things, just getting some more promo shots as well.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Okay, we got to talk then over the past couple of years, really. I want to focus on that and mainly you as a musician,
Okay.
how you've managed to cope over the past few years with the pandemic period and obviously the difficulties that brought to the industry and how artists could sell themselves and portray themselves out in the world. How have you coped and what, if anything, kind of helped you get through the more difficult periods?
Well, we had kind of a unique situation. When COVID first started, we were in California and we got stuck out here. And we live part-time here. My husband had a house here from years ago. And so we got stuck out here and not in Nashville. We live part-time in Nashville as well. And one day we were so depressed, about not being able to play, not being able to go out and make money or anything. And my husband said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "Hey, let's take our stuff up to the street and play. And if people like it, great. And if they want us to quit, we'll just quit." So we took our amps up there and our microphones, ran a long extension cord up to the street. And there's a dead end street outside our gate. And so we sat on one side of the street, and then people started gathering. It was just a handful of people because everybody was fearful of COVID. And so people were out on their porches, and decks and looking out on us and listening. And our neighbor across the street said, "Hey, can I play drums with you guys?" And we've played with him a few times. And we said, "Yeah, sure, come on down." So the next Sunday, which it ended up being on Sundays for some reason, the next Sunday he came down. He was on the opposite side of the street. We were social distancing. And then a couple more people came out, and then there was a couple with a baby that came down and they were dancing in the street. And the guy said, "Hey, I'd really like to play with you guys. And I play guitar." And my husband said, "Well, we really don't need a guitar player because we have two." And my husband plays guitar as well. He's in the band Pablo Cruz. So he said, "But can you play bass?" And he goes, "Yeah, I can play bass." And so all this time we're going, we hope they're good. We hope they're any good. And we thought, this is a neighborhood band. Everything's fine. Whatever it is fine and going to be fun. And luckily he was pretty good. So then a woman came up and said, "I'd really like to sing with you guys." And then we're going, "Oh my God, I hope she can sing." But it ends up that the drummer across the street is a designer for Apple. And the bass player is the co-creator of Instagram. And so then, and I know you're going to wonder why my Instagram account is so poor. It's because I didn't get advice. Anyway, and then the woman is a product manager at Apple, and her husband, it was the head of all things iPhone related, So, and it just grew and grew. Every Sunday, more people would come, and it was wrapping around the block. And we just had the best time doing that. And we were able to keep rehearsing and keep playing. And then people started making donations to us because, obviously the other guys in the band didn't need the money, but we did, having not been able to work. So it was actually a pretty good time for us.
It must have been almost disappointing when you kind of had to stop doing that.
I know. I know. It's like when we have any free time now, we're saying, "Hey, we should go play in the street." It was such a good time. And it was such a beautiful thing for all the neighbors, and the people really enjoyed it because it just gave them some sense of normality.
It sounds exactly as you say. It sounds such a unique environment, and fingers crossed, as much as lovely as it was, fingers crossed it will only ever be a wonderful memory and never something
Right.
we have to do again.
Right.
What other positives can you kind of glean from that period? Particularly, obviously, it's such a university negative time, so that's what people tend to focus on. But we try to kind of pull out the sort of positive experiences that artists and bands may have been able to get from it.
Well, I think that was the biggest one, is that also we had time to focus on my record, which I had been working on. I've been working on it for years because I could have thrown something together, but I wanted it to be really special. And I started playing around with styles. I have my own style, but I wanted to play around a little bit and get it a little more bluesy, because I started out singing a lot of blues songs. And I didn't realize how much I missed that and how much I loved it. So I was able to explore by taking the time that I took to do this record. And I'm just really proud of it. I think it's my best work.
Interesting. You're not wrong when you say time as well, because every band and artist we've spoken to over this last couple of years via Zoom or Skype and whatever tends to answer that question roughly the same, which is the time they've ever had to work on a new material or something they've been able to
Right.
do that they would never, ever have been able to do before. And it's awesome that you sharing that as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty great because my husband he can play bass, guitar, anything, and I play guitar and keyboards, and he does too. So we were able to be pretty much self-contained. And then I started, sending things out across to the UK and to Nashville and to different places, and having people join in. And I engineer and I produced it. And so it was really a beautiful thing, to have all these different collaborations, which would have happened even without COVID.
Yeah.
But COVID did allow us to really focus on just that. We didn't have to upheaval everything and start traveling, in the middle of everything. Like weekends usually are gigs. So we'd have to travel on the weekends. So we didn't have to do that. So it was really a good time to concentrate on music.
Would you say you found it easier then as well to create what you were doing?
Yes, because our focus wasn't pulled away all the time.
Well, of course, the new album, Wild One, this is what one of the things we made you here to talk about. So you've said this has been in the works for years. How far back are we talking? So when did work start on the album? And when that began, did you have a clear vision of what you wanted it to be?
I had a few songs that I thought, okay, I really want to rock this up. I was like, I'm getting back to my roots, who I am, and I'm just going to rock it, because I play acoustic a lot by myself. And it's hard to really be that rock with just your acoustic guitar, so I kind of tailored songs a little differently. So it's been a labor of love, what I couldn't do with money, I did with time. And since I was engineering, I've had more control over things as well, which has been great. And I've got these great guest guitarists, which I don't think I can release all the names right now, but I mean, they're just fabulous. And people just saying, hey, I want to play on your record. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, Howard Leese from Heart and Bad Company's playing on there. And of course, Chris Barris is playing on Driving with the Brakes On. And I've got a lot more to come, and it's just been really beautiful how it's developed. And you know what? It's the right time for me. It's like, it wouldn't have been right a few years ago to release it. It took this to get to this point.
Do you think that's why you've got such strong feelings for it? You suggested earlier on that you think it's your best work to date. Do you think that comes from the fact that you have put so much effort? It feels like so much heart and soul has gone into creating this.
Yeah. And I think, being a songwriter, the songs move me. And I don't want to fool with anything that doesn't move me, So if it makes me happy, hopefully it will make someone else happy, because emotionally, I want my music to connect to people. That's important to me. And I think if I'm honest about my feelings and what I'm going through, there's someone that's going to relate to it.
You would certainly hope so. I mean, surely, like all art, really, is you want to get that connection with whatever it might be it looking at something, listening to something. It's the point, right?
Right. Right.
Well, what about some of your inspirations for this album? Where did you look, and was it quite easy to kind of find topics that meant something to you?
Um, it was. I like to consider myself a fairly deep person. You know, I had a kind of a rough childhood, and I have been, I think the fires that forged my emotions and the way that I grew up made me a better person, you know, made me stronger, I'm sensitive, but it did make me stronger in a lot of ways. And I think that's why emotionally, you know, I connect so much with music.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, of course, we've had a taste already with the awesome track Driving with the Brakes On, which, as you already said, features the very, very immensely talented Chris Paris on it. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, there was a guy that was managing me for a short period of time, and he worked with Chris Barris, and I was like, oh, I'd love to have Chris play on this track. And he said, I'll ask him. And Chris said, yes. Well, the manager and I parted ways because it just wasn't the right time. I didn't need management then. It was COVID and I didn't need it. Mm-hmm. So we parted ways, and then I thought, God, I wonder if I can still get Chris to play on this track. And so it was actually Bruce Mee from Fireworks that called him up and said, hey, you know, will you play on Jamie's track? And he said, sure. I said I would. And yeah, I'll do it. And man, that track just blisters. He plays incredible.
I can imagine. Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, considering the wealth of talent that you suggest you have over this album, that it might be almost like trying to choose your favorite kid when it comes to which part you enjoy the most.
Well, that's true, but it's a good problem to have.
It's that, isn't it? The best problem to have such great talent available to you. And without giving obviously anything away, is this single a good barometer of where the overall album might sound like?
I think it is. It kind of, in my writing, I think people know I kind of move around a little bit, and in my style, you know, it's like I'm not afraid to do a real ballad that may be acoustic, even among these rock songs, you know. So I have some of that, and then there's one tune that's it's got a tiny little, it's a blues kind of jazzy feel to it, but it still fits in with everything because it's still me singing, and stylistically it works. And we have another great, incredible blues guitar player playing on that song. So I don't think you'll be bored with it. Let's put it that way. It's not going to be like same after same after same, but it's going to pull you a little bit in different directions with a thread running through it all.
I think anybody that knows your work and has paid attention to what you've done over the many, many years it will know that variety is such an important part of who you are as a musician. So I think if you weren't expecting variety on this new album, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Your enthusiasm absolutely shines through. I think if someone's watching, listening to this, wasn't excited for the new album already, it certainly will be the case now. We haven't got too long, we haven't got too long to wait either at this stage, happily.
Yes, that's right. It's coming out in September.
It's almost there. So I want to ask you a couple of questions really about yourself in general. And this wonderful title, well-deserved title of Goddess of Rock and Blues. Now, when you reflect on the industry as a whole and how things have changed so dramatically over time, the rise of streaming and the likes and stuff like that, are you quite proud then of your position as a trailblazer?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was not easy for me at the time. You know, it's like if they had a female, they would say, we've got one. So one female and all the rest male, which I love males, you know, but it's like, you know, surely, you know, they've got to know that there are some women that need some things too. And I think women have women and men offer each other uh, emotions and different things, you know. So it was really, really tough. And it was hard. It was very hard. And sometimes, you know, I would run up against somebody that wasn't used to a female speaking her mind or musically. And so I would have a friend of mine or my guitar player, I would go and say, tell him I want this. And there would be no problem. I would get that. But if I had said it, I would have met with resistance. You know, so, and it's just the way people are brought up. You know, some people tune us out because their wives, they're not happy at home or something. And then there are other people, you know, that you get total respect from and can just speak your mind. But it was definitely really hard. And I was doing rock in Nashville, and country was so strong. And I mean, it was solid country then. It wasn't this modern country, you know, which kind of goes a little all over the place. So it was pretty tough.
When you look at the sort of modern landscape of the kind of rock and metal scene in general, and the, I guess, forward movement that we are now kind of seeing, it's still a struggle. It's for many, but it seems to be in a better place than it was.
Yes, I think it is, because I think genres are more open, and the independents, you know, have forced people to pay attention to people they wouldn't have otherwise. If they had gone through the certain channels, you know, to get where they needed to be, they may have gotten stopped somewhere along the way.
Well said, well said. And do you feel as though, particularly in the modern era of being an artist in a band, you've got a good handle on the requirements that are now needed to get your music and yourself out there? So we're talking social media, likes over sales.
I hate it. You know, I'm doing so many different things, producing and directing and all of this stuff. And then the social media piece, it's like, I think some artists like myself, even sometimes we're introverted. And so social media is just not my thing, because sometimes I just need to withdraw to see what I'm feeling and check in with myself, and to be on. That is hard.
How do you get the balance right between your sort of requirement to do it as the artist and your dislike of it?
Well, I'm working on that, and I'm really sorry. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure out what that is and how to manage it, and how to, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like you look so good, you know, and it's like they want you to take photograph after photograph, and I'm like, I've got other things to do that feel more important, you know, but really it's just a necessary evil that I'm going to have to do. I'm getting better.
It's exactly that. It's a necessary evil. So many platforms, so many things that you've got to do that now just to get yourself out there. I don't think I've spoken to a single band or artist that particularly say they love it. And no one seems to have the algorithm down to do it perfectly.
No.
So you're not alone.
I would rather create, and you know, I'm with Conquest Music now, so they're going to be helping me with all of this, which is great, and Claire Lloyd, of course. So that's going to be a big help to me. But you know, it's funny to be on. You know, it used to be go away and create, then you come on, and now it's just on. You know.
Yeah, there is no off switch anymore. Even if you've released an album, it feels like that continues afterwards, because it's always building for the future, particularly from an outside perspective, and say from a press and a fan perspective. The expectation on the artist that their artist is always creating, and your legacy speaks for itself. Yet with this new album, it does feel like Jaime Kyle, the artist, is kind of just getting started again. which
I
is very
know.
exciting for the future. And I guess I want to ask you, last but not least, are you very excited about the future? And is this album the next stepping stone in what comes next?
Definitely. It definitely is. And I think because I made it without a record company and without influence from anybody else, it was more fun. It was like when I was on a huge label, they wanted me to do things a certain way.
Hmm.
And, creativity is not like that. Real creativity. It's a gift, and you take it when you get it, and you have to move when you're prompted to move, to do things. And I think the freedom of this has been so exciting because I didn't have to prove anything to anyone. I just had to please myself. And if I was happy, then if people love it, great, but bottom line, if I'm happy with it, that's really what matters. And not that I think I'm so great. It's just that the music means something to me. That's what I'm trying to say. It means something to me.
It makes sense, because if you didn't believe in the music, I think that would come through to the listener, the person that's enjoying it. If you're not feeling it, it will
Right.
come through.
Right. And for the future, it's like I'm already formulating what I want to do for the second record. And the possibilities are endless, on what I can do and, who I can get to help and play on it. And it's just really exciting because it just seems like the level of musicianship and everything has just really gone through the roof on this, I think, anyway. And I'm a musician, so I'm a fan of great musicians, and I've been fortunate enough to have this album will have great musicians on it. So anybody that's a musician will love it for sure. And then songwriters, I think I hope it's put together well, that people can relate to it and love it for many different reasons. The writing and musicianship, the sonically, the sound of it, everything. So
can't wait, and got complete faith in your ability. So there's almost no question. And you are right. The last couple of years feels like musicianship and the releases and stuff that we're getting, and music that's coming out of the world from all genres, all walks of life, is simply on another level. It's going to be brilliant to see you release something that joins that list. Jaime, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?